what happened to my Discord? Hang on, looks like we lost a group. This is what happens when we fire up a couple of different events at a time. Come into here. I'm going to disconnect and reconnect. We're coming back to you. This one is Friday. I have to go clear into the future, which is always fun. Hang on, guys, we just have one technical difficulty with one of our broadcasts, and we should have it wrapped up here really soon. It is not going to let me start that one. All right, we will get... We should be rocking and rolling now. Looks like mics are all hot. Welcome to our onboarding session here today. We are a few minutes behind with a few technical difficulties, but we are rocking and rolling now. We are cooking with gas, as they say. I don't know who says that, but I'm sure somebody says that. We are rocking and rolling. So welcome out to your Bookmap onboarding. If you are brand new to Bookmap and you are wondering how to set some of this stuff up and what on earth are you actually looking at, then you are in the right place. We do pull up some charts, so I do have to go through our quick disclosures. Just our general disclosures as far as everything in this session today is designed for educational purposes only. Nothing should be viewed as investment advice or recommendations to buy or sell anything. And also, trading involves risk. Trading futures, equities, everything involves risk. It is always important that you understand the risks in everything that you're getting involved with. Trading definitely has some risks to it. We also like to call out that there is a difference between simulated accounts or hypothetical accounts and real accounts. In here we talk, there's a lot of things that are actually different between the two, order queues and different things like that that you have to deal with, but then also just where you're actually not making money inside of a simulated account. Or losing money. That also is actually a very different thing as far as how it impacts you emotionally, which definitely impacts, usually, well, I shouldn't say definitely, which a lot of times will impact our decision-making process, right? It can make us real emotional. Now, one of the first things that we're going to do is jump into why is Bookmap so amazing. This is going to be a fun section because we get to talk a little bit about what the tools actually do for you, what some of the main tools do for you inside of your Bookmap platform. Now, one of the things about me is I started trading in 2001. I spent about 10 years studying conventional technical analysis, which is kind of where everybody starts, I feel like. Went from like seminar to seminar because this was before webinars. This kind of dates me a little bit. This was before he did anything online. We barely had online. Just the idea of trading online was very, very new. There was definitely not education online at that point in time, which was is a whole new world now these days. But in 2010, I met a trader from Chicago, and he had 2 seats on the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, and he was on the committee that created the S&P 500 futures contract. And I was really, still struggling, pretty. Can you struggle well? I was still struggling well. I was still struggling to, see kind of consistency and things like that. And there had been times along the journey where I had given up even for a month here or a month there, only to get re-inspired and get back involved with trading. And when I met him, I asked him if he would go through my trades and help me out a little bit. And he ended up agreeing, and he went through my trades, and we talked for a little bit. And one of the first things he said to me is, he said, you know what? You're actually trading backwards. You're buying, and you usually should be selling, and you're selling, and you usually should be buying. And I thought that was kind of funny because of how many times I had actually thought that. Wow, if I just did the exact opposite of what I thought was right, I would be doing a lot better. Like, there's been so many times up until meeting him that I even thought that about my own trading. I really should just do the opposite of what I think, and in the long run, I'd be doing better. He also mentioned, he said, it's actually something that's very common when I talk to, he called them stay-at-home traders. When I talk to a stay-at-home trader, I just call them retail traders because that's really what we are. We're just not professionals, right? We're just on the retail side of things. He said, I see it a lot because the issue is you don't have access to like 95% of the market. You're missing out on so much data that it's kind of like you're trying to trade blindfolded. And so then he started introducing me to market mechanics and how the markets work. And one of the things that he asked me was, he said, do you know why prices go up or down? And I was like, yeah, of course I know why prices go up or down. Like good earnings reports or good economic reports or a strong economy, and I brought up all of these like fundamental concepts. And every time I would bring one up, he would just say, nope, that's not why they go up and that's not why they go down. And he eventually stopped me and he said, let me ask you a question. Have you ever seen good news and prices go up? And I was like, yeah, of course I have. And I remember then the second question was, well, have you ever seen good news and prices go down? And I thought, and I said, well, yeah, of course I have. And he said, okay, well then how could the news possibly be in control of price when there is no consistency in the price action relative to the type of news announcement? And I thought for a minute and I was like, wow, you have my attention. So Bookmap was created to level the playing field. You no longer have to work on Wall Street to get access to the real market. You no longer have to work on an exchange to get access to the real market, right? All you have to do is have your Bookmap platform. Now, buyers and sellers control the market. That was a key lesson in market mechanics that he taught me. And did you know that institutions control about 80% of the market liquidity? So institutions control about 80% of the order flow, and us retail traders control about 20%. Now, you can get into some micronized situations where you can actually see this skew mightily around specific price points. Like even, for example, if an institution was wanting to buy 100,000 shares of something at a specific price, at that specific price, they would be like 99.9% of the liquidity. But spread across the market as a whole, they're about 80% of the order flow. They're 80%, we're 20%. In a supply and demand controlled world, when they are 4 times our size, if we're buying and they're selling, it's like standing in front of this truck. The other thing is not only are they huge, but they're super consistent. Here's Goldman Sachs' trading revenue from 2024. When they send out their 2025 annual report, I think next month, we'll get their 2025 numbers. And I've got the last 10 years of these, so ever since I've been tracking it. We'll just stay on the most recent one. This is a little high for them, I would say, though. They're generally in the mid-80s as far as their profitability. But in 2024, they were profitable. 93% of the days were profitable days. 62 of the days were over $100 million a day. And why this is important is because not only do the institutions control 80% of the market liquidity, but let's round this number down. And let's not say that they do this every year, because they don't. This is even a high water mark for Goldman. But let's say they control 80% of the liquidity, and let's just say on average institutions have 80% of their days are profitable trading days. If they are controlling that much of the order flow and they are this consistently profitable, trading against them is very, very painful. If we are buying when they are selling, and if we are selling when they are buying, we are going to be losing about 80% of the time, right? If they're profitable 80% of the time and we're doing the exact opposite, then we are going to be losing really about 80% of the time. Now, my mentor on the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, one of the things that he told me stories about was back before the exchanges were traded really electronically, there was clerks. And these clerks would work for financial institutions, and they would get all their orders, and before the market would open up, they would organize their desk. They'd organize their desk so that as price was moving around, they could fill all of the orders for the institutions that they worked for. And so as independent floor traders, they would try to sneak back into the clerks' offices, and they would try to see before the market opened up where was the biggest stack of buy orders and where was the biggest stack of sell orders. If they could get back there and see where the biggest stack of buy orders was and where the biggest stack of sell orders was, then they essentially knew the low for the day, not with 100% certainty, but they had a high probability of knowing the low for the day and knowing the high for the day before the market ever even opened up. Because market mechanics in there pierce. We distill all of this down. There are buyers and sellers in the market. And new sellers and new buyers are constantly coming in and out of the market, so these stacks are constantly changing sizes. But they would look for this big stack of orders because the average amount of sell orders would not be able to fill it. And so as we have sellers coming into the market, eventually these stacks are going to go away and price is going to come all the way down to this big stack of buy orders. We're just going to call this 12 buy orders versus 4 sell orders. Well, what happens in this situation, just like every market, the farmer's market pairs up buyers and sellers. The supermarket pairs up buyers and sellers. The stock market pairs up buyers and sellers. The futures market pairs up buyers and sellers. So no matter what marketplace we're talking about, they all function this way. Buyers and sellers come together and they exchange, right? So in this case, the sellers and the buyers are paired up. Those orders are filled, and all of a sudden those orders vanish into thin air. They don't really vanish. They get recorded as volume, and they get logged, but they are no longer bidding. They are no longer an open bid inside of our auction, which is this market. They are no longer bidding. That's important to remember because they have no impact on the market going forward. And why that's important to remember is they used to be here and now they're gone, right? They used to be here and now they're gone, and they have no impact. Whoop, I'm getting a little lag on my pen here. They have no impact on the markets going forward. No impact. What happens is there is zero supply, and once there is zero supply, price is allowed to go higher because it's driven by these unfilled orders that are still sitting back here on this chart. It's driven by these unfilled orders. So that's one of the key concepts that I was introduced to when Bob was still on the floor, is it's how do you find the unfilled orders? And that's one of the things that we're always looking for inside of our financial markets. Where are the unfilled orders? Now, why he said I was trading backwards is he was looking at my trades and they were very classic, right? Very classic because I'd been taking a lot of courses on trading as a retail trader. And we have dots here and we have dots here. Whoops, am I going to be able to, my pen is not happy with me right now. And then we have a line right here, right? And this is called an uptrend, right? So eventually we come in and we end up buying somewhere in here. Now the issue ends up being is this is after a 30, 40, 50, 60, maybe even a 70% markup in price, right? Maybe even a 70% increase in price, which that is not low, that is high. And that's actually where where the professionals are selling is up at these high prices. You can see the stacks of orders illustrated up here. The other thing that I used to do a lot of is I had a rule in my original trading plan that said I could only buy stocks, and originally I started with stocks. It said I could only buy stocks if they were above a moving average, above average actually translates perfectly into high, right? I can only buy high. There was so many rules inside of my original trading plan that were having me buy high and sell low, right? With the intent of selling higher, but buy high and sell high is very, very difficult. When we're paying a retail price for anything, it's very difficult to mark it up and sell it off at a higher price. Now here's kind of a standard technical analysis chart. And again, if we come into this chart right here, wow, my little pen is moving really, really slow. I wonder if I have like something running in the background that I need to shut down. Well, I'll deal with it later. We don't need to use a pen on all this stuff. Don't want to slow down our class anymore. So if I just take my laser pointer and I come across here, this is like the center point, right? This is the center here. Everything down here is wholesale pricing, which is where professionals buy. Everything up here is retail pricing, which is where professionals sell, right? We can see that there was professional buying right here. And how do we know that? Well, the institutions are the only ones that have a big enough order size where they would put it in and it would create that big of a reaction. We can see that there was institutional selling right here as well, because again, institutions are the only ones with a big enough position size to be able to drive the market that far down. The other thing that we can see is this ascending triangle pattern right here, which is a classic technical analysis, conventional technical analysis chart pattern. I've traded that chart pattern, I bet at least 1,000 times. You know, I couldn't tell you the percentages exactly on that one of how many of them went well and how many of them didn't go well, but I can tell you that this one right here did not go well, right? They were able to take a little bit of a breakout, it went up a little bit, chopped around, and then sold off, and they got stopped out with a small loss. There's not enough margin up in here to make this trade even worth it. Now, what if the only thing Bookmap does for you over the next 12 months is help you avoid bad trades? Not bad trades like they were a bad idea, but low probability trades. What if all Bookmap does for you in the next 12 months is helps you eliminate half of your losing trades? Because this trade right here, if you could see this stack of sell orders, you don't take that trade, right? We go, oh, I'm not going to buy when the institutions are selling. I'm going to go look for a different opportunity. And money saved is money earned. Right now, we don't have a loss for the day on that specific trade. I mean, think about that. What if all this does is help you avoid half? Cut your losing trades in half. How much better off would your trading performance be? Now, this is Bookmap's heat map. I laid the chart, I laid our trading desk little icons over it for illustration, but this right here is a big stack of buy orders. This up here is a big stack of sell orders, right? They are here on our Bookmap heat map. This is where it shows the orders that are waiting to be filled in real time, just like that clerk's desk. This way we can make sure we stay on the right side of liquidity. We have these candlesticks in here that just show you what the price action is in case you're more comfortable with candlesticks. I know I was in the beginning. Now I don't use candlesticks. Candlesticks actually hide a lot of the information that I need and make it hard for me to see where I want to get in and get out sometimes. So I turn those usually off. And then behind it, you have the volume dots. Volume dots show you where the transactions, where more the aggressive transactions are coming in. These are anything hitting a market order, and these are also, so this is where anything binary lives. All the algorithms and stuff get tracked inside of these red and green dots. Here's a screenshot from this morning's session. This was on a simulator with a group earlier, as we had one of these stretching earlier in the day. It's hard to see behind this little triangle. This is right after the open, but it's hard to see the zone, the stack of orders that was shown to us because we set up an order there. It got filled. When it gets filled, you get this little triangle. We had our target and our stop already in place. It came up, hit our target before it hit this big stack of sell orders. This one wasn't here yet. You can see it did hit that. It did come out of there a little bit, recovered, and came up to our target. This stack of sell orders hung out in the market for like 2 or 3 hours this morning, maybe even a little bit longer, because in here we took another opportunity and got stopped out. We got in here. It actually came down, kicked us out. This level wasn't strong enough to hold, but then this one held for a while. You can see another entry into here, and I actually ended up going on a bike ride as it was going up but it ended up going even way higher than where that target is. But this demand zone, I don't think we ever got below this big stack of buy orders, but you can see it hitting and bouncing out of there before finally making its bigger move to the upside. These are those stacks of orders. These are unfilled orders. Unfilled orders are what control price, right? Unfilled orders are what control price. Now, having Bookmap, and specifically having Bookmap's heat map, is like having an X-ray machine for candlesticks or even for the market as a whole. Now, you saw a bunch of different colors on that screenshot. You see a few here. The darker the color, the larger the stack of orders. So you can see the stack of orders displayed right here, and you can see another one here, and you can see them across the order book here. This one is darker. You can see it got a little bit lighter. That means the size of it changed. And so the heat map tracks it historically even. It shows you what it was, and everything to the right of this solid line right here, this is the current market. So this is the current NBBO right here, which is National Best Bid and Offer. And down here, this is the current order book. This is the historical order book based on these timestamps. So what that shows us is the stack of orders was fairly big here. Some of those orders got filled. Those unfilled orders drove price higher. But the stack of unfilled orders is much smaller, hence the color change. So with that smaller stack of unfilled orders, we have a lower probability of having a bounce out of here because average selling volume can probably just fill anything that's left and it can push on through, right? So we're always looking for those big stacks of orders, and specifically, you're never going to see, oh, this is so-and-so's order, but I always like to look out onto those extremes and find where are the biggest stacks of orders that I can isolate, because that is the highest probability. If it's a huge stack of orders, that is a higher probability that it is institutional order flow rather than retail order flow. And the institutions are documented for being very, very successful. So we want to find their footprint in the market and see if we can track them. Let's log into bookmap.com, get everything set up there. This is a spot where you can follow along. A lot of you have probably already done this, but just in case, you go to bookmap.com, we click on that, we come down to our selection here on your operating system. Go ahead and select Windows or Mac, whatever it is. I was just going to say Windows, but whatever it is you're trading on. And then select your version. Always just select production. There's always going to be well, not always. Sometimes there's going to be a few different options in here, but selecting production will always have you on the latest and greatest and debugged. But sometimes we'll have some test ones in here as well. Go ahead and click on download. That's going to create an installer for you. And while it's creating that installer, you can click on this add subscriptions button. And right in here, you can see the subscriptions that are available for you in Bookmap. So these ones are for crypto only, right? 19 bucks a month, $195. This is for our Digital Plus setup. And then we have crypto, and it's just crypto only. And then this one, crypto future stocks. You have global, and you have global plus on there. The other thing I'm going to show you in a second, you can see we're on this Add Subscriptions tab right here. I'm going to show you a couple of cool things in just a minute on this Upgrades tab. Because the other thing that we need to have is we need to make sure that we have the right platform, and we need to make sure that we have the right data. So are you trading futures, right? There's a few different data selections that you can choose from. Are you trading equities? You're going to need total view. And you can get your futures data or your equities data from us, or you can get it from DXFeed, and we connect you directly. You can even sign up for DXFeed through us. If you already have Rhythmic or something like that, I'll show you where you can get that connected in just a few minutes. If you're not sure which exchange data you need, here's a little cheat sheet. You can take a screenshot of this, and this will help you understand which ones you need. The most common are equity indexes, which is like the S&P, so that's the CME one. And then the other most common, I'd say they're pretty close to each other, is the NASDAQ Total View, which is the data feed for trading equities. Now let's jump over to that Upgrades tab, because this is where I have something special for you and only you. We don't share this with anybody except our new traders that are joining us and that are participating in one of these onboarding sessions. This is the only time you will ever see this. We have, part of this, you'll be able to see this, right? We have these quarterly memberships. And so this will cover you for 3 months on Global Plus. So it's going to give you every bell and whistle It gives you the ability to trade live off of Bookmap. You just connect your platform and you can execute directly through Bookmap, which is incredible. And we already have these ones set up with data. So we have one that's set up with the CME data, one that has NASDAQ total view, and one that has both, right? And these are 3 months. So these are quarterly subscriptions, but this is a platform and your data, right? But what is so special about this, and what is so special because you are in this session, is when you sign up for one of these and you use the code word liquidity, you're going to get 30% off of that first 3 month cycle on your platform and data. So you're going to get 30% off. It's like $150 off, depending on which one of these that you're doing. The 30% is bigger, obviously, on the one that's both. The 30% is less on the one that is lower. But you get 30% off these as a thank you for spending time with us here in this onboarding. It is the only place that we share that coupon code. But use the word liquidity at checkout, and you will get 30% off these. And so when you do these, you don't have to set up your data separately. These come with your data feed included. So you get 30% off your platform and your data. And again, you get all the bells and whistles. Essentially, it does make Global Plus about the same price as Global for the first 90 days. And so you get to experience everything at a nice discount. Now, your installer is probably ready to go. So let's go ahead and open that up. And then there's going to be a bunch of things like next and yes and I agree and all these things that we've got to click before we finally get our Bookmap desktop icon. Once we get that set up, though, we'll be able to get into our Bookmap run options. You can see we have replay mode, traditional mode, and simulated mode. Trading mode, live trading, right? Live trading, this is where we can get in and actually have our connections and execute directly into our brokerages, as long as we have them connected, right? And can I ask what the best, this is a great question, the best data for futures, especially the NQ. And so you're going to be on the CME. You'll need the CME exchange. That's and the top three are going to be you can get it directly through us, which is Bookmap, and then DXFeed is amazing, and Rhythmic. Those are the top three data providers out there. You can really do it with either one. It's really easy for you to do it via the Bookmap data, because we just already have it in our system. But if you already have Rhythmic or something like that, that works as well. I have 3 month, got it in December. How can I get 3 month again in March? You actually can, since you are in here. Way to play the system. You actually can, because we have it set up as an upgrade. And so anything that you have still left, you might have a couple weeks or something like that. So if you signed up right now, it would take whatever you have left on your original 3 month and it would add it to the end of it. And so that's why we set it up as an upgrade, because we know some of you guys already have a subscription. And so you go in, make sure you use the code word liquidity though, so that you get the 30% off. And then, yeah, it'll add whatever you have onto the end. And so you'll start your new 3 months now, and anything left will just be added onto it. And so essentially you'd have the next 4 months or whatever, covered depending on the dates. Yeah, so you've got Rhythmic, there you go. And in just a second, I'm going to show you how to connect that Rhythmic data. Let's go ahead and cue the next scene, connect some data. I've taken everything out of my platform when I made these screenshots so that we could walk through it from the very beginning. But where all of your connections are, Bookmap data, Rhythmic, interactive brokers, whatever you're connecting, always starts on this connections tab. We're going to go ahead and click connections and then hit configure. On this configure button, it's going to open up where we add in all of these plugins. And so you're going to want to find your appropriate plugin for Rhythmic, for different things like that. And first, we'll just go right into Bookmap, and then I'll show you the other drop-down where they all are. I'm going to add in my, where do we go? I'm going to go ahead and add in my Bookmap plugin real quick. I'm going to click, I have to scroll down and find it. I'm going to hit OK, and then install. And then here we are, our Bookmap plugin is set, right? This is setting up my Bookmap data. I hit OK. And now I'm going to create this connection. So I'm going to be connecting. You can create a lot of different connections in here. I'm going to add this as a connection. It just takes whatever I have up here and it creates it as a connection. So now I have my Bookmap data. Now for Rhythmic and different things like that, it's the same spot. If you come right up onto here where I have Bookmap data, you click on that. It has this whole drop down of all the different things that you can choose from. So DX feed, you can see Rhythmic right here where you can connect, and it's going to ask you for your credentials. You would then sign in, and it would connect you with whatever it is that you're signing up to. You can connect to Interactive Brokers. Interactive Brokers also has data that it can be fed into Bookmap. However, it's not the full market. It's not MBO, and so it is missing some of the information that is a big part of Bookmap, and so it does create some of the blind spots. But it is still there as an option, or even just to connect your Interactive Brokers account to if you want. But a lot of options down in here for you to create those connections. You can go ahead and hit OK, right? But this is where all of your connections are, right? This is where all of your connections are. You find them and you add them, right? All of your connections are right in there. Now we're going to come back up here and make sure whatever connections that we have in there, make sure that they're turned on. They default to off. Right? They default to off, and we come in here and we want to make sure that they are turned on. Yes, I had that same issue. Yeah, make sure that you deactivate. I even had to go so far when I upgraded my platform the first time. I had to go so far as to I uninstalled everything, even the files on my C drive, just to make sure I only had the one experience. But we got to make sure our connections are on, right? So we got that. Once we have that check mark there, and even more, I guess specifically, once we have this plus sign right here, right? Once we have this plus sign right here, we know we're connected. That plus sign is how we request information. I'm going to click on that and say, I want to look at a stock. It's on the NASDAQ, and it's named Apple, right? It's a fruit company. Remember Forrest Gump? He invested into a fruit company. Or we say, you know what, I want to look at a future. It's on the CME. It's the S&P 500, right? I hit this subscribe button. Subscribe then requests the data. It's the same thing as if it said launch or open, but you hit that subscribe button and it is going to create your chart. Now, I'm on Global Plus and I love trading from my charts. I don't like flipping back and forth between interfaces. That's something that we had to do back in like 2005, and in 2025, it's just something I guess it's 2026 now, but in 2026, I just kind of refuse to do that. But for those of you that have been trading and been involved in the markets for the last 20-something years like me, that you remember back in the day when we had to have like a platform, and people still do this, I don't get it, but where you had a platform and an interface where you entered your orders. Like I had this platform that was called, well, I had one that was called Trade Center. I had an EduTrader. I had all these different platforms from all these different companies that I traded on at some point in time, but I never traded on them. I just did analysis, and then I would have to go to like my Options Express account. Remember Options Express? Go to my Options Express account to put in my order. Options Express was really cutting edge because they did net credit or net debit on their spread trades, which had them like miles ahead of the curve. It was kind of interesting to think about that. But so one of the things I like to do is I like to come up here to the upper right-hand corner and right-click. And it's going to give me all of these different features that I can add in. One of my favorite ones is this trading DOM, depth of market, right? That is going, I'm just going to add the default columns. You'll see them populate right here. Here is my default depth of market columns. This makes it so I can trade right from this matrix right here. You can also trade right from the screen as long as you're on the live market portion of the screen, or you can trade from our trading control panel. But before we trade anything, we have to make sure that our trading control panel is on, right? It's off. We can turn it to chart, DOM, or both. I always just say just select both. Why not, right? Like if somebody says, hey, do you want vanilla ice cream or chocolate ice cream? It's like, how about both? Let's take both, but now let's make sure we have a quantity in place. We need at least the number 1 in there. Otherwise, none of this stuff will work, right? We have to have a quantity. Thankfully, is if you try to trade on here and nothing happens, look over at this column. Something will be flashing at you. It'll probably be this right here. This square will be flashing yellow, letting you know that you don't have a quantity. So wherever there's an error, it will actually show you where that error is, and then you go, oh, I need to turn it on, or oh, I need to do this, or oh, and it helps you fix it. Now we can come in and we can buy, we can sell, we can create these orders. They'll populate right on our charts, and then we can move them around and adjust them as we're managing our trade. One of the things I love is you can come over here, you can preset your trading brackets, so you can preset your stop amounts, you can preset your risk amounts. I was talking with a group of traders actually yesterday, and one of them told me that I was a little kind of hardcore with this stuff. I was a little strict because I told them I use this on every trade. And they were like, why do you do that? Why do you use that on every trade? And I kind of learned a while ago that, some people are really good at basketball. Some people are really good at, soccer, football, right? Some people are really good at American football. Some people are really good at rugby. Some people are really good at pool, and some people are really good at trading. And while you also have people who are really good at all those things, you also have people who are not very good at those things. And I think one of the reasons why I got so strict with myself, especially on using brackets or this position sizing formula, is I just kind of came to the realization that I have to have a lot of rules and I have to have a lot of kind of strict guidelines because I'm not one of those naturally good traders. I'm not one who just sits down and goes, oh, here we go, let's just make this happen, and everything just works out. I had to create a lot of rules, and one of the rules was having very strict risk and profit-taking processes. I found that as I was adjusting my stops manually, I was getting out too early or I was staying in too long, and that was happening on a regular basis. And so finally, I just took myself out of the equation and used these. And so these are one of my favorite things inside of Bookmap, where they will pop up and actually take care of managing your position for you. And we are, it's 1:40 out here. So we are in our quiet market right now. I was going to say I'll pull it up and we can go through this. But we don't have a whole lot going on in here. But if I come in and say, here is my quantity, I am on my sim, I can at least come in and put on an order. You'll see my order hit the screen, right? There it is. I can move it around however I want it. I can move it down. The other cool thing is see how it's tracking this line. As you're reviewing your trades, as you're reviewing your positions throughout the day, you'll actually be able to see how you moved your entries and how you moved your stops. Come on, let's just move it down to here. And it doesn't like it when I drop it below. Let's move this one here and let it come down to me. So it should come down. It'll hit that just a second. Come on down. A little bit more. And then it'll fire off the two other orders. Right? It'll fire off the two other orders. We'll have a take profit order up in here. There we go. We have our take profit order up in here, and we have our stop down in here. Now, one of the reasons why this screenshot that I showed you earlier, where did it go? I knew I threw it in here. Why I don't have the end of this, even though it came up, it did end up hitting this target, and it came clear up in here. Why I didn't have the end of this is because I actually went for a bike ride. You don't have to sit in front of it. I don't manage things manually. I found that I screw it up when I manage things manually. So I really, really love those brackets. But that's personal preference. But I really love these brackets down in here. Let's jump into Bookmap Academy. We've got a lot of resources for you guys, and a bunch of you. We've got 16 of you logged into our Discord server right now. We've got a bunch of you on YouTube, a bunch of you in Zoom. So those of you that are in Discord, you already know how to log into all of this stuff. But we have tons of different courses on our Discord server, our pilot program, live trading labs, futures, crypto, stocks, options, and we have sessions on pretty much everything. The most recent one that we've been launching is the pilot program. It goes along with Global Plus, right? It goes along with Global Plus. You can actually subscribe to it on its own. But it's actually just makes more sense just to be on Global Plus and to get access to that program. So the pilot program, because we use replay mode, because we're doing live trading in there, you got to be on Global Plus to be in there. And so it's included with Global Plus. The rest of this is really included with your global or even your digital, but pilot program is Global Plus. But some of the things that are going on in there, weekly live trading sessions, clear step-by-step process. We've built tools and templates to guide you through that process inside of Bookmap. And then there's just another, you guys know how awesome the community is, but there is more just interaction and camaraderie inside of that channel as well, because everybody is studying and doing and trying to accomplish the same thing. The reviews on it are just out of this world, missing puzzle piece, right? Silences the noise. I can't emphasize how beneficial this was. You know, we're always trying to come up with new things inside of the platform and inside of our Discord server here that can help you create that edge as a trader and help you become more consistent and more successful at reaching your goals. Now, how you get access to this stuff, it is all on our Discord server, right? It's on our Discord chat. So if we are back to our Bookmap portal where you did the download, you can click on Join Discord. For those of you that are watching this on Discord, you're like, we already did this, homie. I'm like, I know, right? Click on Join Discord, and then it's going to ask you to create a username and stuff like that if you don't have a Discord login yet. And you'll go through a verification process, and then all of the appropriate channels will be open up to you, right? So one of the things that I would do for everybody, you know, if you're Global Plus, if you do a Global Plus subscription, you're going to want to go and get registered for that pilot program. But for everybody, no matter what, you're going to want to come up to this Events tab, and you're going to want to scroll down and find the one that is All Markets Live Order Flow Analysis using Bookmap. These are every Monday, Tuesday, and Friday. They are led by Bruce. He's our Chief of Education. There's tons of interaction and Q&A that goes on inside of these sessions, where if you have something that you need help on, some specific questions that are, you know, as technical as you want it to be, this is a great spot to go in and get those handled. We also have trading competitions going on. Trading competitions galore, right? Right now we've got a free blue jacket competition going on where you can share your trades in social media, tag it free blue jacket. The whole trading competition's right here if you want to scan that QR code. The winner gets one of our coveted blue jackets, and also 3 months on Global Plus and 3 months on a single exchange. What time is it? I'm like, wow, I'm late. But we did have the snafu in the beginning, but we are almost wrapped up. I'm about ready to set you guys free. The Bookmap, and really I should specifically call out the pilot program. There's memberships that you can get to it, where you have like $4.98 for a quarter, and you can get access just to the pilot program, even if you're just on digital. But it is actually cheaper just to get a quarterly subscription of Bookmap, and it's a lot cheaper when you use that discount code liquidity, and you will just get access to that pilot program included with that Global Plus membership for free. So not only are you going to be saving money on your platform and your data, but you are going to get access to the pilot program for free. Again, it's under the Upgrades tab. It's one of these three right in here. Those are actually the only three that the code word liquidity will work on, right? So right now we've got, for a limited time, as a thank you for attending this and as a way to make things a little more affordable out of the gate, you are going to get 30% off of that. And then with your Global Plus membership for the next at least 3 months, because you'd be on it for 3 months. At the end of 3 months, if you weren't using all the features, you could always downgrade to Global. But at least for the next 3 months, you'd be in those live trading rooms as well, building out that trading edge. Just got to use the code word liquidity. And the first 3 months ends up being only $279. But it is kind of like, what if all this does is help you avoid those losing trades? But what if now adding in the pilot program and everything like that, what if that's able to help you build your trading edge, to help you reach a little bit more consistency in your trading? So there's kind of two huge benefits that I always see, like, right in front of us. How can we cut down our losing trades, and how can we get more consistency in our process? And number one, that is one of the big things that Bookmap helps us do, is make sure that we're not buying into an area where there's a lot of selling. It also helps us make sure we're not selling into an area where there's a lot of buying. And then you jump into that pilot program with Bruce, and that is where you are building out those rules, that systematic process, and you're really building out that trading edge to optimize your consistency. Whew! Thank you guys so much for joining us today. Remember, you go to that Upgrades tab. It's the quarterly ones. Use the word liquidity so you can get that 30% off. Now, the other thing is, make sure, if you haven't done this already, make sure that you are going in and getting set up on our Discord chat, our Discord server, Once you're in there and you find the courses that you want to attend, click this interested button. That way you will get alerts every time those sessions are going live, right? That way you won't miss out on one. There's other ones in here, live trading labs with Tom, There are, I can actually see the top of his invitation right here. But yeah, there are a lot of sessions in there that are phenomenal. Everything that we're doing in here is designed to help you either from a technology standpoint or from an educational and training standpoint. There are so many, oh, and so up in here as well, it's not just Bruce or myself. Up in here, you will find so many different traders that have their own trading rooms in there where you can go in, you can see their style, you can practice with them, you can follow along with them and find kind of the ones that fit you the most. When I took this screenshot, there was 28 events available to, that you could get scheduled for. So there's so much stuff going on in here. Thank you guys all so much for jumping in with me today. Once you're on Discord, I'll look for, definitely we'll be looking for you in one of the live trading sessions very, very soon. And excited to be one of the first, if not the first, to welcome you to Bookmap. Welcome to Bookmap, everybody. We'll see y'all soon. Oh, yep, absolutely. You're welcome. Yeah, the discount code, it makes it nice and easy. Yeah, and where you're new to the platform, and a lot of times when we're coming onto the Bookmap platform, it is a little bit different than most of the platforms that we've traded on. Like one of the things I'll show you real quick too, because anybody who wants to log out can log out if they don't want to watch this. One of the things I always like to do is I'll come up here and I have my time slices. And I always come back to my 2-hour time slice so that I can have my consistent chart, right? We're after hours, and so you get a lot of, our randomness over here. But so we have all of this up, all these tools up here, but this is one that I use a lot to make sure that I'm not having like adjusted views. I always like things to look the same. But yeah, this is where your time adjustments are, is right up in here. But again, there's no candlestick that we're adjusting. We can add candlesticks to it. Right? I can right click on my chart. I can add candlesticks to this if I want. And then I can click on a candlestick and I can actually say, what time period do I want this candlestick in? Right? It just starts to make a mess. Like for me, I just got so used to it finally having them not on there. And all I care about is where is price and where is unfilled orders. And I even have a lot of custom settings on my heat map so that it only shows like specific orders. Like if I were to go to my heat map settings, and I were to drop a lot of these down, right, it'll give me a lot more activity, but I'm just trying to isolate only my major orders. And so that's why we're in after hours. That's why you're not seeing a whole lot right here. Because I don't care to, I try to silence as much noise as possible with my trading. I get distracted easily. It's like butterfly or squirrel, whatever it is, right? All right, everybody, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm going to start shutting down the links. We have occupied the YouTube channel long enough, and I know we've got a lot of you trying to get back to other activities today. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful rest of your week. Have an amazing 2026, and we will see y'all soon.